But we need to cross straight to Antigua because Aussie all-rounder Glenn Maxwell is joining us. Maxie, thanks so much for your time ahead. It's such a big part of the tournament. I've got to say, though, by the looks of social media, a lot of family time, a lot of beach time. You guys have cruised through the Super 8 phase. I feel like you're just having the time of your life as a team. Is that what it is inside the camp?
Yeah, it's been pretty cruisy here. We've played some really good cricket. We've been able to, I suppose, switch on at the right times and enjoy what I suppose the Caribbean has to offer and be able to relax. You can obviously see the tent behind me here, which is Logan's blackout tent. But yeah, it's nice to have the family here. It's nice to be able to share, I suppose, the experience of this. But we've got a couple of big games coming up, and the guys are certainly well aware of what's in front of them.
And a big game up against Afghanistan next. I mean, it doesn't get much harder than this in conditions that will, I guess, deteriorate as the tournament goes on. And I guess, again, as a spin-friendly team, I guess. So it's going to be a challenge for you.
Well, I think we've got Bangladesh first. I really hope I've got that right.
You have.
To be fair, this tournament, we've been here, there and everywhere. So if Fiji could have been right, it could have been Afghanistan, and it could have been on a completely different island, the one that we're at. So it's been certainly difficult to navigate. I think especially with two countries, a lot of different internal flights. You can see this teams have been sort of stuck on the tarmac for a couple of hours, had their flights changed at the last minute. Late night games followed by early morning flights. It's been a bit chaotic, but to sort of, I suppose, get out the other side of that and be in these Super 8s, I think everyone can sort of almost relax and get back to, I suppose, normal resumption of, I suppose, the high pressure games, knowing that we've got to basically go through almost unscathed for the rest of this. And we know that Bangladesh and Afghanistan and India, all three world-class spin units, and we know what we're going to face over the next couple of games. That the way the wickets have played, they've been so totally different on each island. It almost feels like you've got to get used to a new set of conditions every time you land somewhere.
I think Finch is just excited about Afghanistan, as we all are, as I'm sure you are, Maxie. Have you gone and watched your highlights of the ODI World Cup from last year just to pump yourself up a little bit ahead of this one?
No, I haven't recently. I certainly watched it a fair bit during the summer and during the IPL, but no, not recently. I think probably the other thing is I relate that innings to a lot of pain, and I think that's my initial thought of when I go back to it. I was in so much agony at the back end of that, so I don't really want to reflect too much on it. I want to sort of be injury-free and nice and relaxed and hopefully pretty fluid, I suppose, in the next few games. So, yeah, hopefully there's a few mental scars from the opposition side, but for me, I know I've got to go out there and start my innings again. And as I said, get used to new conditions that we've faced pretty much in every game. I don't think we've had two wickets that have played the same or looked the same. So you're not sure what you're going to get when you turn up to the grounds, and the training wickets are completely different to what we've been seeing out in the middle as well. So it's certainly made it difficult to prepare for what you're going to see out in the middle. So hopefully we're just the team that's quicker to adapt.
It's great to hear you be so upbeat at the moment. What about your form specifically on the field? Obviously, tough IPL, not the start that you would have wanted from a World Cup perspective. How are you feeling about your own form out there in the middle?
Yeah, still feeling really good. I've been hitting the ball pretty well, but as I said, it's just been really hard to, I suppose, get that rhythm and momentum. You've seen our openers go out there and absolutely pump it all over the place, and then in the middle order, it obviously been quite difficult to adjust. And the only one that's probably throughout the tournament that consistently has been smashing is Stoin, and he's just been outstanding. And what he's been able to do is get himself into his innings, give himself a bit of time, and then branch out from there. And it's been pretty impressive to watch. And just the calmness that he's exuded, I suppose, throughout the rest of the order. And he did it against Oman, picked his time beautifully, and did it again against England, and as well against Scotland. So to have those guys below me gives me a lot of confidence, and knowing that I've actually got a bit of time to get myself into the tournament. And it's not just about, I suppose, what the top four do. We've got some real quality below us, and it's a nice position to be in, that I don't feel like I've really fully hit my straps. Played pretty well against England, but don't feel like I've fully hit my straps yet. But I know that it's not far away. It feels good in the nets, feels good in preparation. And I think when you're out in the middle, when you're picking the ball up well and picking up length well, I think that's probably a good sign that it's not far away. And that's sort of how I feel at the moment.
And one of the features of that Afghanistan 200 that you did get was obviously you had full body cramp, so you couldn't move, but you just stood so still. I've noticed at the start of this tournament, you're moving around the crease a lot, particularly in your first couple of balls. Is that a subconscious thing that you're doing and it's just happening naturally, or is it purely based on the wickets and the opposition?
Probably wickets and opposition, so probably trying to get almost fake foot movement going and sort of trying to get some rhythm into the ball. And it's probably a sign of nerves early on in the innings as well. I think it's pretty typical from a lot of batters where they're trying to get their feet moving. They don't want to be static, and certainly I don't want to be too still in my innings. I want to make sure I have some sort of momentum into the ball wherever it might be. And with these wickets playing the way they are, especially in Barbados, you did need some sort of momentum into the ball and some sort of rhythm going at it. So there was a little bit of that. I think it's probably been a little bit different the other night. I think against Scotland, you could stay pretty still. The wicket was pretty good. And the same thing for, who was the other one? Namibia as well. I think that wicket played really well, and batters could sort of hang back and stay dead still and use the pace of the ball or fire if they needed to. But as I said, there's been so many different conditions wherever you've been going, whichever island you go to. So you just got to be able to be the team that adapts the quickest.
You spoke about the batting depth of Australia as well. The fact that you haven't fired yet, the fact that Mitch Marsh, we haven't seen him go absolutely nuts like we know we can from the skipper. Is it almost a scary proposition for the opposition, do you think, heading towards the pointy end of the tournament?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it still feels like, for me and Mitch, we got a lot of confidence out of that England game for the role we played in that match. So even though it's a small sample size, we still feel like we played our role. We set the innings up for the lower order to then go nuts. Yes, it would have been nice to have both or one of us at the back end, but our role is to, I suppose, adapt and work out the conditions as well as we can. And the opening batters going out there and scoring it over 12, 13 and over can be a bit misleading to how the conditions are. And if we try and go at that rate for the rest of the innings, thinking that's what it's like, we could just, I suppose, throw our wickets away when the conditions weren't like that at all. And I suppose it's for us to adapt and find a way. So we both took a lot of confidence out of those two innings, and we still think that we're going to play a big role, I suppose, heading into these games. And Mitch has been unbelievable over the last couple of years since he's, I suppose, come back into all three formats of the Australian team, especially the test stuff. I think that's probably filtered into the confidence in the other two formats. And watching him go about his work, you always know he's only one or two shots away from basically ruining the game, and we're certainly looking forward to seeing that.
And what has Mitch been like as captain? Obviously, you've had Pat Cummins won the World Cup under his leadership. Mitch, relatively new into the captaincy space. What's that been like, especially when he goes from being someone, or everyone's best mate in the team, to then having to captain the side and pull the strings out there? Has there been any kind of transition in that regard?
Yeah, you're right, Aaron. I think being the guy that everyone says that he's just everyone's best mate, he's probably the one guy that everyone just absolutely loves unconditionally in the group. And he's been that guy for a long time in this group, being a larrikin, being a guy that sort of is the fun, the barometer that we sort of enjoy with off field. But I think it's probably just toned down a little bit off the field. I think he's still trying to have that change room where everyone's allowed to have their fun, be as individual as they would like to be, and embrace themselves in the games as much as they would like. But I think his calmness on the field has actually been really noticeable. I think there could be a lot of stuff going on in his head that we don't see as players, and he doesn't sort of show it. He was brilliant in that game against England. He captained us really well. He was able to manipulate the bowlers beautifully. And I think coming into these games, it's going to be obviously a different test with three completely different sides to what we've faced. So it's been really good so far. I haven't obviously been captained by him a lot in the past, but what I've seen of him, it's really impressed me.
He's a lot less grumpy than the old skipper too, I can tell you.
Nice little side yourself.
There's a few captains that he's a lot less grumpy than, so there's probably you and another of your panellists. Actually, 3 of them. There's 3 of them.
I love it. And they're all coming up too. Nice little segue there, Maxie. As we wrap it up, I just want to know, have you received any text messages from any of your English mates over the last week? It's been a big week between the old enemy, thanks to Joshy Hazelwood.
Yeah, just a couple of texts here and there, but yeah, it was actually quite funny. There was a lot of chat out in the ground. It's like, oh, are we doing this? Are we seriously going to let England back in? And no, it was pretty an interesting game because we just didn't bat that well at the start. It just felt like our rhythm was all out. When I got out, it was at an interesting sort of stage. Heady's back was sort of flaring up a little bit. And it could have gone each way, but as I said, Stoin came out there and absolutely pumped it all over the place, and sort of the game beyond doubt. And there was almost that interesting part when they dropped the catch off Tim David when there was, I think, 3 off 3 required, and when it gets down to the last 2 or 3 balls, who knows what happens? But luckily enough, we go over the line, and luckily enough for England. They got through, but I heard it was absolutely chaos. I think they were at this hotel that we're at now, and there was a fair bit of panic going around. Guys were booking flights, cancelling flights, booking flights again, trying to get hotel rooms. Would have been funny to be a fly on the wall and watching that.
I'll tell you what, though, he's just confirmed that there were conversations out there in the middle. Glenn Maxwell, thanks so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it, and all the best for the Super 8s. Hopefully the semi-finals, hopefully the final. Maybe we'll check back in with you on Around the Wicket.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.